just right off the bat. You can close your eyes if you want to, but you don't have to. It's a very short thing that we're going to do. I just want you to take a second and imagine the smell of soil, of like some deep, dark, rich soil that you could grow some good tomatoes or whatever you want in. Just picture that smell. Just take a second. And I'm curious, if everybody's able to get that, that just from our imagination, just bringing in a memory from before, like how powerful it is, but what a powerful scent that is too. So that's it for now. Just hold on to that. We'll come back to that soil here in a little bit. I really love the way that it related to the meditation from Gene, because gardening is a great experience of getting deep into nature, and that's what we're here to do this week. So, as above, so it is below. And we've heard this saying before. We've also heard, like on earth as it is in heaven. And we hear these things because it is all one and the same. And this, refers to both our mind and the way, like the mind of the infinite, but it also, applies to like our physical nature of ourselves, of our planet, of our universe. It's all one. It's all made of the same stuff. We are made of star stuff, which is really pretty cool when you think about it. So every atom in your body all came from exploded supernovas billions of years ago. The universe is 13.7 billion years old. And our solar system is only 4.5 billion years old. So, the closest estimates that they have. So that's over 9 billion years of, beginning with very light elements like helium and hydrogen. I guess there was a little lithium in there towards the beginning, and they just kind of started to collect and amass, and at some point had these reactions to where they ignited and burned, and then they call it like the crucible of the universe, where they forged into new elements and heavier elements and so on, and then became these burning masses of stars and grew, and eventually burned up all their fuel, and the mass was so big that then they collapsed and exploded on themselves, and then started new systems going in infinite nature. And it took over 9 billion years for us to have our solar system and our planets, our sun. And look how much is that's still 4.5 billion years of our time together. Like, how amazing is this whole system that we are a part of? So we are in the universe, and the universe is within us. It's all the same stuff. And it's pretty amazing. So in a little bit here, I'm going to share some images. But before we get to that, so this week we are to look at our relationship with nature. This whole, I'll remind us that the theme for the year is living everyday wonder. And for this month, it was relationships. And we started with the relationship to ourself, which, all our other relationships essentially are affected by the one that we have with ourselves. And then, we went to the individual and then to groups. This week, though, we are looking at our relationship with nature. Are we, giving that the kind of attention that all relationships need in order to thrive and be healthy relationships? So this week, for me, it's a fun week, because it is a call to, enjoy. And, a lot of times I can, just speak for myself. Sometimes I forget about the beauty of nature that's all around us. And it's a healing and a cleansing thing to get out and appreciate it and experience it. And so a little bit of, living everyday wonder. For me, it's easy. I open up to this sense of awe when I am reminded to do it. So I am grateful for this week to do it. And so, that's why I picked, this background that I'm using, this green screen background of the Northern Lights. Like, how majestic and powerful are these scenes that are just part of nature? Like, imagine if this wasn't something that, we've seen several times. If it just appeared like once, like it would blow our mind. We wouldn't even know like what to do with ourselves because of how awesome it is. But we kind of, take things for granted as they repeat, as we see them more and more often. So really, just to step back a little bit this week and take a look at what I call, the micro to the macro. I like to just kind of let my mind run on it. This is the kind of thing that I can sit and just ponder on forever. So, we're called to look at and compare this week. Part of our global theme for CSL is to compare the systems in the human body to the systems of the planet that we're on. And again, it's that micro to the macro. If we look at our body, our bodies are made of bone and skin, there's fat, there's water, a lot of water, connective tissue that holds it together. And then if we look at our planet, at Gaia, we have, there's the rock, the hard minerals. We have soil, and then water, again, a lot of water. And then there's a fungus that also goes throughout everything, which they're learning more and more about this kind of loose fungus that's throughout like the soil, that they say they equate it to essentially like being a neural network, that they are now believing that, trees and plants and other organisms are in a constant some form of communication and connection, and it's through this fungal network that is throughout the plant or throughout the soil and throughout all of nature, which is really pretty cool. And then going back to our bodies, we have specific organs that perform specific functions, and they're all working like in this really cool harmony all the time, working together in tandem. Well, Earth has these same things, of air, land, water, and the different life systems. And then again, operating with that fungus, they are all in a harmony, in a balance. So like I was talking about, a lot of water. The Earth is 71% water, and our bodies are 60% water. So it's pretty amazing, just the comparisons and the similarities that we have throughout it all. So real quickly, I'm just going to show a PowerPoint. So if you look at the image on the left, and for anybody that's doesn't have a visual with this and you're just listening, the one on the left is the veins in our hand, in our wrist. And then there's an image in the middle that is a bunch of like creeks moving into streams, moving into rivers. And then the image on the right is branches of a tree. And they all operate in very similar ways. That is, the natural pattern that nature has set up. It's just the most effective and efficient way to get these different nutrients throughout our different parts of our body. But they look like so completely similar. And I really love, both the veins and the tree, they work in both directions. But I like how, the rivers, they start in these, smaller things, and then, come together to form larger and then larger into the rivers. And it's really just a beautiful thing to like sit and compare these things side by side. Now, taking it a step further from the micro to the macro, this next slide, the picture on the left is a picture of a mouse neuron and all the different connections that it has. So this is a brain cell of a mouse, and it shows what it looks like, under intense magnification. And then on the right is a pulled back image of the universe, of millions of galaxies, and there's the same looking image of a connection of all these little lines and pathways. Some are thicker than others. That is matter and dark matter as imaged, they call it the cosmic web. And again, it looks so much like the brain cells that we have. So it causes lots of people to speculate that, the universe is possibly just a giant brain, which is really kind of amazing to think about. And I'm hoping this next image will work. It was having a hard time playing it earlier. So this is just an image that was compiled. NASA, over the space of 20 years, had a satellite taking images of the Earth. And this is time lapse. Each breath in and breath out is a year in the cycle of the Earth, as the ice, forms and then melts at the North Pole and on down into the the continents, and then we also see the green of the vegetation that comes to life every spring and then goes dormant life to spring. And so this is, when you watch it, it's so much just like the same idea of what we do when we're breathing. It's just an in and an out, an expansion, and this goes on and on. So much like just mind-boggling stuff that just, it really lights me up just to think about how we are really part of something so much bigger that we just can't even begin to imagine what is underneath it all. Or maybe a lot of us can actually begin, and that's why we're here. That's why we're here, studying spirituality, our consciousness, and really longing to know more about our connection to it all. So this is a powerful week for us. For so long, like humans, and not all humans, but a large portion of humans that have moved into, through the industrial age and leading up to it, we have really felt like masters of this planet. And, we even use like a biblical reference to say, God gave mankind, dominion over the animals and the waters and everything. And some people have taken that to a stance of this is ours and it's ours to use and utilize. And we have, a lot of us have lost that remembrance of our interconnection with it, that we really just can't take it and take without being aware of what we're doing to it. Now, indigenous cultures, Native American culture and indigenous cultures all over the planet have had long-standing respect and an understanding of this interconnectedness. And there was a sense of reverence, something that I think we really could benefit and learn from to, bring back into our culture. That, one thing that was pretty amazing when you think about it is the communication, that there is an underlying, in the science of mind, we teach that mind affects our reality. And so we practice what we call affirmative prayer. And it's something that, we can speak it out with words out loud and feel like it has a vibratory nature. But it's all happening, in mind, and more specifically in feeling, in, our heart space, that we are creating this energy and this shared time with this. And so the more that we are able to remind ourselves and just interrelate, talk to Gaia, is another word that we use for, a lot of people say Mother Earth or Gaia. It's just our planet and our nature, that we are part of it. Just in the same way that the universe is within us and we are within the universe, we are part of this ecosystem. And, there is definitely something going on underneath it all. It's amazing the way that animals have a sense of what's happening. When we go back to, the horrific tsunami that happened in 2004, people reported that after the earthquake hit, but nobody knew that it did. It was way away. But before this, the wave came, that like elephants were running for higher ground, cattle, dogs refused to go outside. So animals start acting strangely before, big events happen on the planet. This happens, with earthquakes and volcanoes. There's some sort of knowing going on. So with that, I want to pull up one reading real quick out of The Science of Mind and Spirit by Ernest Holmes, who was, the founder of religious science. So this is on page 103. It's the very last paragraph, just a couple sentences on this page, and then it goes to the next. And it says, we are on the verge of disclosing a spiritual universe, and will ultimately conclude that what we call the physical universe is a spontaneous emergence through evolution of inner forces which cannot be explained, but which must be accepted. So the spiritual universe, again, going back to that image of, the brain cell. So then how then can we doubt that the very mind which we now use is the intelligent principle from which all life draws its power to be and its intelligence to express? The furtherance of evolution depends upon our ability to sense a unity with nature and her forces. When the knowledge of this unity comes alike to all, The tread of armies will cease, and the bugle call will echo the soft notes of brotherly love. So when we recognize our unity and our sacred responsibility to this planet and accept the gifts that the planet is always giving to us, then we can learn to recognize our oneness with all life, with all our siblings on this planet, to recognize that we are stronger together, and that if we want to continue in our existence, we've got to learn and figure this out. So now, getting back to that idea of the soil that I had us all imagine smelling at the beginning. So Earth and our bodies are these diverse ecosystems. On planet Earth, there's 8.7 million species, but in our bodies, there's 10,000 species living within our body, 10,000 different species within our body. So over 90% of the cells that are in our body, they aren't even ours. They're these microorganisms. They outnumber our cells 10 to 1, but they're so small that they still only weigh like 2 to 4 pounds. But we have this microbiome going on inside of our bodies, and it's responsible. We're learning more and more about this. The microbiome, a lot of it is our gut bacteria, but this microbiome goes throughout our entire body. And we're learning more and more about how it affects our physical health. It can affect cholesterol, blood pressure. It can affect our immune system, our energy levels, but it also affects our mental health and mental wellness. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because of the comparison and part of our call to action for this week. So the comparison is to that soil that I brought up earlier. So there's a thing called Mycobacterium vaccae, which is really big words, Mycobacterium vaccae, or they call it M. vaccae. And it is a microbiome that is throughout soil. And now it's long been considered that, gardening is good for our mental health, good for our well-being. But now they're learning reasons why that is so. So this microbiome that's out there, and you ingest it when you breathe in, like if you breathe in rich soil, you ingest some of that bacteria gets into our bodies, and it causes our bodies to release serotonin. So when I was, doing some research on this, there's articles that ask, can I get high on soil? And the short answer is yes. You just by breathing it in and holding it. I'm currently in a class that we are talking about eco-psychology, and therapists and other mental health experts are beginning more and more to, rather than having a client come in and sit in their office and talk, they're like, we'll go and meet outside and we'll have our hour-long session walking through nature, because our connection to nature it's a healing thing for both us. And I also like to think that when we are there and taking it all in and appreciating the nature around us, that it's beneficial to nature too. I really do think that there is this one, mind, that it's all connected, and that there is an unwritten communication going on, just the same way that, the animals were able to pick up on these subtle things and know when to get to safety. Human beings, we have cut ourselves off from that, but the more that we open up to it, and, really, if you take the time to just ask nature, talk to me, show me what's going on, nature shows up. I want to invite everyone to take a little time this week to get out into nature and take the intention to see what nature can tell us, what it wants to show us, and get out there too, and, really feel and smell the soil. And, I don't know if anybody's heard about, I guess a lot of people here have, because this is that kind of a group, but just the idea of forest bathing. And it's just sitting in nature, just sitting and letting, everything come in. And you don't necessarily have to get out into a forest to do this. We can, bring plants into our house. We can even just go outside into, a field of grass or anything, and just be and open yourself up. Ernest Holmes always talked to us about being, open at the top. just being receptive to seeing what is out there and what can come through. And that invitation and intention is really a powerful part of this. So this week, if you're down with it, I don't want to boss anybody around, but if you would like some homework to do this week, a little field trip, if you will, find ways that you can, explore something in nature, just doing something that you wouldn't normally do. And not everybody wants to get out there and hug a tree or wants to, cuddle with the dog. Those are also great ways to do it. But there's just finding different ways of just appreciating the nature that we are and sending your thoughts and ideas out there to it, and appreciation, even like looking up at the stars. It is truly just a mind blowing experience when we think about the billions of years, everything that had to happen and unfold in order for us to get here. So I don't need to point out where we're at in our planet, where climate change has developed and where, we could be doing better. We kind of keep putting things on the back burner that we'll take care of things soon. We'll take care of it soon, but we all individually are still, blazing along in the comfort that we have. So how can we step back and honor the nature that we are, open up to the ways of the past, the ways of, indigenous and nature-based cultures and philosophies, and learn and grow. And the more that we are able to do that and appreciate it, just like Ernest Holmes directed us, with the unity of all that is, then, we can start to recognize peace amongst all of our siblings. We're all here together and we're all made of the same stuff. We all came from the same place. We all are sharing in the one consciousness. So I really do think it is time for us to recognize that. So our homework this week is to find yourself in wonder and awe of your personal relationship with all nature around us. So I hope you have a fun week doing that. Thanks for listening to me speak.